Hi everyone. I know what I said about the last video. I feel I've got one video more inside of me. And I know I said the last one was the last one, but I felt that I had to end the Vlogmas series somehow, and I had to all just tie it up in like a neat bow and say goodbye to it. And I'm now filming this in December, started in October, and I'm seeing people start to put their Vlogmas stuff up, and I just realise how far I've come in the whole situation, how proud I am of myself. And I won't go on about it too much because nobody likes people just talking about themselves, but I felt I had to just end the series basically. And what better way than to talk about ghosting, because I don't think I've actually made a proper video about ghosting, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my channel next year. So I thought if I talk about this might round up the dating portion of my videos, because I've never talked about it. And it's obviously part of my name, Text Ghost Love, and ironically the part ghost in my name, as I was thinking more and more about it, I feel that it's the ghoster is me. I feel that as I get older, I feel that I am becoming more and more the ghoster and taking back control and taking back my boundaries. And that's what I've been working on this year particularly, is taking back my boundaries, taking back control, listening to my intuition and really doing what's best for me. Firstly, being ghosted on, it happens to everyone. I don't think anyone out there is unique in the fact they've escaped being ghosted. Most people in their life at one point or another, they will experience the pullback from a guy where they ghost and they just disappear off the face of the earth. And it's happened to me numerous times. And you know, you can make an hour video on why men ghost, because there are so many reasons why men ghost, why they pull back, why they pick someone else. I just draw upon what I think are the main ones. And the main one is just that they can. It's just as simple as that. It's just that men can. There's no pushback from ghosting anyone. It's not like he's going to go to prison for ghosting you. Really, it's a socially acceptable option of pulling away from someone, not showing interest. It's men simply can, and that's why they do it. We do tend to paint men as the bad guys for ghosting, but really when a man ghosts, what he's doing is he's trying to spare your feelings, and it doesn't really feel like that at the time. You think, why is this man doing this? But in reality, it's because men don't want to hurt your feelings. That's why they will pull back. That's why they will stop replying to their messages. They won't tell you the truth because they know that the truth's going to hurt. So that's why they pull back. And it could be about you, it could be about them, but equally, if it isn't about you and it is about him, he's not going to lay his feelings out for you and write you a message of why he doesn't want to see you anymore. That's seen as not a masculine thing to do, and unfortunately we still live in a world where men predominantly aren't allowed to open up, where men aren't allowed to explain themselves, and they aren't allowed to be vulnerable. We still live in that world where we don't let our men be vulnerable. So he's not going to say, I don't know, I'm not ready for a relationship at this point. He's not going to say that. So he will pull back and he will ghost you. When some men pull back, you can tell that it's just like a temporary thing. You can tell it's a temporary thing and he'll be back and you can feel it. But for a lot of men, you know, when he pulls back, that is it. There's no second chance. He's not coming back. And it just kind of sucks, but you're never going to, this is the thing that I've been thinking about recently, is you're never going to know the reason of why someone pulled back. I can think about why a person's pulled back, and I can create so many narratives in my head of why this person pulled back. Did they pull back because they didn't like me, or they didn't find me attractive? Did they pull back because they met someone else? Did they pull back because they just lost interest because I was being too pushy? Maybe I was, you know, wanting too much. All these scenarios will go around in your head, but you'll never know the reason. And as tough as it is, you have to stop trying to work out the reason, because you won't get that from a guy. Guys aren't conditioned to be honest, really. And People won't like that, but guys aren't conditioned to be honest. I'll tell you why guys aren't conditioned to be honest. It's because obviously the more people you date and the more experiences a man have gone through, the majority of men will learn through their lived experience that vulnerability doesn't work for them, and being vulnerable will often get them the opposite outcome. So if they're with a woman and they're vulnerable and maybe it hasn't worked out, and in that moment they haven't been able to have sex with a woman because they've been really vulnerable with that woman and then it's turned that woman off, a man will take that experience and they will think, well, I've been vulnerable with that woman and it hasn't worked, so I'm not going to then go into my next relationship and be vulnerable again. And it's not even men that do that. I mean, I've certainly done that, is where I sometimes get caught into this loop of I generalize men, and if I do one type of like action or thing with one man and it has a specific outcome or result, then when I move into a next relationship I think I won't do that. But the thing is, it's a different person. They might not react in the same way as the man where I was vulnerable in the past and it didn't work out. When men are vulnerable, they can get the wrong result. Or if it's on like a deeper level of communication with a woman and maybe the relationship's developed a bit more and they're vulnerable with the woman, they can have that experience where it turns the woman off and the woman pulls away. So sometimes men will just go on their previous experiences and they'll just pull that through into their new experiences, and they'll think, I don't want to mess this up. It's easier if I just ghost. It's easier if I just pull back because I don't want to mess up. I don't want to be vulnerable again. It's easier if I just pull away. And it can be difficult because there's like different layers of ghosting. I feel on a dating app, this is why I tell you not to have long, drawn out conversations with men online on dating apps. It's because you will get connected and you will get feelings from a man and he won't. He won't at the same period of time. If you're in that initial just talking and connecting phase, he doesn't owe you anything. He doesn't owe you an explanation. He doesn't owe you an explanation of why he pulled back. He doesn't owe you the explanation of oh, I met another girl and I prefer her to you. He doesn't owe you that because you're on a dating app. And sometimes people tend to escalate how they feel on a dating app and they tend to make it into something it's not, when really anything online is not real. You know what I'm like? I know it's difficult because I know I have like subscribers that are in long-term relationships and I don't want to hurt their feelings. But for me, if it's not in the real life, if you're not connected, if you're not seeing each other, it's not real. It's a friendship. That is my take on things. So if you're on a dating app, he doesn't owe you anything. And that's why I feel absolutely no shame in unmatching people on dating apps and not giving an explanation, because I've had to date like a man. I was way too feminine when I was dating before. I was just being too vulnerable, too passive, letting people close to me too early when they hadn't earned it, basically. And I was just dating like a woman. And when I started to date like a man, it served me better because I wasn't getting hurt. And not dating a man as in, sleeping with lots of men and just, using people and hurting people. But dating as a man as in ghosting people, unmatching people, if they didn't ask me on a date, just cutting them off, not talking to them, blocking them. I was dating like a man, and ironically that's where I found my power, was dating like a man, not taking bullshit off of people. And that's how I gained my self-esteem, basically, was dating like a man. But you have to date like a man in the right way. You have to take the right characteristics of dating like a man. You can't take the characteristics of, just like sleeping around, etc. Because that's ultimately just going to hurt you as a person, I believe, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons. But I never really understand when people say, oh, if men ghost, it's because he doesn't fancy you anymore. I never really understand that as a concept, because he obviously liked you and fancied you in the first place to talk to you and build up a communication with you. So I think the excuse of he doesn't find you attractive anymore, I don't think that's a valid excuse. I think men just kind of use that to just generalize and just to make it easier. And I think sometimes like male dating coaches, they just try and apply how they feel to women, and it doesn't necessarily work the other way around, etc. But I don't really believe that as an excuse, because he obviously liked you in the first place to talk to you. So I think the main reason men ghost, I think, is because they just change how they feel. Something changes in the dynamic where it will either be something that you've done that you'll never know the answer, and it's going to be something that you've done that's put the man off, and there's nothing you can really do about that, because you can only just be yourself authentically. And if something you've done puts the man off, then you know they're not the right person for you. There's nothing you could have done. If you act towards, how you are and your own principles, and it puts a man off, at the end of the day, there's nothing you could have done. But there's also the external that you can't help, as in maybe he met someone else, maybe he's just not feeling it, maybe he doesn't want a relationship, maybe it's him, maybe he's decided that he's just not ready to go into a relationship. That does happen for some men. They're just generally not ready. I know I do make videos saying that men go on looks first, and that is true, but you do have to take some nuance to it, as in you can't just blame every time a man pulls away. It's just, oh, he didn't fancy you, because you're going to look, if you're dating someone for a few months, like you're probably going to look exactly the same. So you can't use that as an excuse, like how you look, etc. all the time. There's always going to be a bit more nuance to it. And sometimes men just change how they feel. And sometimes it's something you've done, because maybe you're going all in and you want a relationship and they don't want that, and it scares them and they run. And I've had that happen to me before, where I've laid my cards on the table and said, I want this to be a relationship. And me being honest with a man, it's made them run, and I've never seen them again, and they've blocked me. But at the end of the day, they just weren't ready. You can't draw that back to looks, because they obviously liked you at the start. It's something on the man, and you can't internalize a man's behaviour and pull it back onto yourself and be like, what did I do wrong? That's the main thing when you're a woman. It's always, what have I done wrong? What have I done wrong? Why did he ghost? Why did he disappear? And you have to try and not put the way he is and his insecurities onto you. You have to go forward and think, that didn't work for a reason. And I know everyone watching this won't be spiritual, but I am quite a spiritual person, and I see it in terms of, if something's not meant to be, then it's protection, and I'm being protected, and I'll ultimately go on to find something better. It's not as if I think that my life has been all set out, but I do feel that sometimes when I've gone for things, like even if I've gone for jobs in the past, or I've gone for like men in the past and it hasn't worked out, I've always felt there's been some kind of protection there, and some kind of force almost that's been redirecting me to somewhere better. And I can't always see it at the time, but moments when I look back, I feel that I'm almost being guided onto a better path. Sometimes ghosting for me has been a good thing. It's been a good thing where I realised that I'm not compatible with this person, and even though I really like them, they didn't show me enough interest. So that for me is a note in itself to move on. The way I take it is, he doesn't want to hurt your feelings. For whatever reason, the dynamics change, and he's doing it to protect you. He's doing it because he doesn't want to be honest. And like I talked about earlier, maybe him being vulnerable in the past has wounded him almost in a way. He doesn't want to put that pain onto you, basically. It's easy to get on the internet and be like, all men are dogs. But really, some men are just trying to spare your feelings, and maybe they don't go about it in the right way, but ultimately they are trying to spare your feelings by ghosting. The reality is you're going to get 10% of men that are just bastards and will have sex with you and just ghost you, etc. You are going to get men like that. It's because those men haven't healed, and those men are obviously just playing out their problems, and they're pushing their problems onto women because they haven't dealt with their shit. But the majority of men just don't want to hurt your feelings. Maybe you go on one date and he ghosts you. Yeah, ironically, that's probably because he didn't fancy you. But if you've been going out for 2-3 months and then he ghosts you, that's not going to be the same reason why he ghosts you, because he's been there for 2 or 3 months. He's been intimate with you. There's this notion that goes around that men will just sleep with anything, and 10s will sleep with 5s and all this bullshit. Men sleep with women that they find attractive and they like. The majority of men. You're going to get some men that are like that because that they haven't dealt with their problems, but the majority of men sleep with women that they are physically attracted to. So it's difficult to say because it's going to differ on the scenario of why a man will ghost, and it's going to be individual to you. It's not like I can make a video and just bleh. It's going to differ on the scenario of your relationship. But ultimately, they're doing it to not be the bad guy, not be the guy that hurts you. And men don't want to be the dick because news can travel, and they don't want that on that reputation that they are a bad guy. So I think that's me done. I just want to say a thank you to everyone that supported me this year, everyone that's watched my videos, and I really enjoyed doing Vlogmas. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not gonna do it every year. Like, this was a one-off for me, and next year I've accomplished what I feel like I need to do creatively. I don't know, I might take a bit of time off. I want to really concentrate on dating but not putting it online, if you know what I mean. So I probably will take a bit of time off, like especially January, because I am pretty tired and I feel like you might be sick of me. I don't know. I'm filming this, my channel might just blow up. I don't know, but in reality, it probably won't. So I'm going to take a bit of time off. I think my online presence will be more like a friend, as in when you have a friend, you don't see them all the time, but then they'll pop up in maybe 2 months' time and then you'll see them, and it's almost like they haven't gone. I think for a little while my presence might be like that, rather than just the continued grind and hustle that I've done in previous years. I think I maybe need to take a step back, and I want to do things offline basically and try and develop a relationship, because I'm human and I do want to find someone, and it's difficult to find someone if you're constantly in that grind mode, if you're constantly in that masculine driven drive hustle mode. I hope you have a lovely Christmas. This will probably go out before Christmas, and yeah, it's definitely the last video. It feels like my last video. I just gotta edit it now, but yeah. So have a lovely Christmas. I'll see you soon. Gonna take January off, but I will be back. Like, I always go, I'm leaving YouTube, and then I come back. So yeah, I will be back. But have a nice Christmas. I'll see you soon. Take care.